Greetings and welcome once again to our program. I'm Larry Wessels, your host. I'm the director of Christian Answers of Austin, Texas, Christian debater. And I'm in studio today with my partner in this ministry, Steve Morrison. Steve, great to have you here.
Well, thank you, Larry.
Steve is our director of research for Christian Answers, and he handles all our websites. And I just told Steve here, let's do a website video and tell people about your websites. You know, we usually mention it on all our over 600 videos on YouTube, but it's usually in passing and pretty quick. To actually do a video on your website, about your website, that's probably the most detailed thing we could have done ever in all of hundreds of videos we've done. So I had Steve here. He came in for a 4-hour debate on the Oneness Pentecostal, and we got that done. And now we're just going to spend a few minutes talking about his website. And the website I want to talk about is one of his 3 that he has online, and that's called www.muslimhope.com. Now, Steve has put a lot of time and effort into creating that website dealing with Islam, and I'm going to have him talk a lot about it, but I did want to mention that 4 books that Steve has written have come about as a result of that particular website. One book Steve's written is called Letting Islam Destroy Itself in a Muslim's Mind. Another book he's written is called Answering Muslim Objections to Christianity. Another is Christian Dialoguing with Muslims, and I believe you did a lot of actual dialoguing with Muslims to create this particular work. And then also the reliability of the Bible and Christianity versus the Qu'ran in Islam. Okay, so we have that website that you've created, Steve. What can you tell us about it?
Well, there are other Christian websites on Islam, other good ones too. I think AnsweringIslam.org is the largest one, and I would heartily recommend that one also.
That's by Sam Shamoon.
No, it's actually by a number of people. He's
one of them.
He's one of them. I have an article on there also.
Oh, okay.
But there are different approaches from maybe the hardest hitting to maybe fairly soft. The approach that I have is kind of said by the title of this. I don't really denigrate Islam or say, oh, Islam is yucky or something like that.
This is letting Islam destroy itself in a Muslim's mind.
Right. Yes. So rather than me saying a bunch of stuff about Islam and why would you trust what I say, why don't you read for yourself? I've read through the Quran cover to cover at least twice. I've read through all of the hadiths.
Explain to the people what the hadiths are that may not know what the hadiths are.
All right, the hadiths are, how can I say it? They are a collection of over 18 volumes of writings of what Muhammad and his early followers said and did. And they are probably more important in Sunni Islam than tradition is in the Catholic Church.
Wow.
Okay.
That's significant.
And they would always rank the Quran as higher than the Hadiths, but the Quran is roughly the size of the New Testament and has a lot of repetition and doesn't say so much. And the Hadiths say a lot of things. And people who want Sharia law basically means following the Quran and the Hadiths. Mm-hmm. And I would expect that probably 95% of the people who say they want it haven't read it and don't know what all is in there. Mm-hmm. For example, Sharia law says that you have you can beat your wife if she's disobedient. The word for beat is the same word used to beat a camel or a violent criminal. It also says that if you use the bathroom, you need to wipe yourself with an odd number of stones. Okay. It also says some other stuff like, of course, a Muslim can't eat pork or drink alcohol, which almost all Muslims know.
Oh, quick question. Yeah. You mentioned going to the bathroom and using smooth stones, an odd number. Do they have to be smooth stones, or they can be any kind of stones?
I would think you'd want smooth stones.
Okay, go ahead.
But anyway, the hadiths also say you can't sell alcohol or pork. Mm-hmm. So that would kind of limit, the grocery stores and convenience stores that a proper Muslim would look at. There was a big outcry some years ago over showing pictures of Muhammad to say pictures of Muhammad aren't allowed. Okay, the Hadiths actually don't say that per se. They say any pictures of people or animals, that's any people or animals, aren't allowed. And actually when they first started showing pictures of people on TV in Saudi Arabia, there were violent riots. So they've actually kind of selectivized what they've had. But basically with what's on TV, if you want to follow Sharia law, you cannot own a TV set. You cannot have photographs of people in your house. And if you do have those things, don't tell people they have to follow Sharia law, because there's a word for that in the Quran. It's hypocrite. And there are a bunch of other things and of course people who leave Islam ought to be killed. Now Muslims actually disagree upon that. Sometimes they think that if it's a woman, she just ought to be in prison indefinitely, but many of them say killed regardless of sex. And actually ISIS, according to the Hadith, the people of ISIS are going to hell. You know that? Because it says if a Muslim kills a Muslim, they both go to hell. Now the ISIS people don't believe that Shiites are Muslims, but if they kill other Sunnis, according to the Hadith, they're going to hell, and they've been so eager to kill people, they probably haven't even stopped to think about that. And it's like, so why are you joining this thing where God sends you to hell according to your own religion? I've always had trouble understanding how they think about that, if they think about that.
Well, I know in the Hadith somewhere that Muhammad said that if you say someone's not a Muslim, then one of you is wrong. And so you get, I got that from David Wood, by the way, off of Acts 17 Apologetics. I highly recommend that YouTube site, Acts 17 Apologetics, with David Wood. He's got some great videos out there.
Now, since the Quran says that if Muhammad were a false prophet, Allah would sever his aorta, and Muhammad eventually admitted that he could feel his aorta being severed, you might think we have a pretty good reason to reject Muhammad and his religion. But you're wrong. If you look more closely, you'll see that we have at least 10 good reasons to reject Muhammad here. First, think about Muhammad's argument in the Quran. If I'm a false prophet, Allah will cut my aorta. People who make silly claims like this usually aren't prophets. I am a prophet. If I'm not, may God strike me with lightning. Ah, no lightning. This proves I'm a prophet. When someone uses that kind of reasoning, chances are he's a false prophet. But that's exactly how Muhammad argues in Surah 69.
So, logically, if she weighs the same as a duck, she's made of wood.
Second, even though these God will strike me down claims are usually enough to spot a false prophet, I believe that God sometimes makes things even more clear and obvious for us. If someone's running around saying, I'm a prophet, God didn't strike me down, God might ignore him, but in some cases God might decide to thoroughly disgrace and humiliate him. And if any false prophet in history was a candidate for divine judgment, it was Muhammad. Now, Surah 69 was a Meccan surah, meaning that Muhammad was reciting this to his followers for years. He spent years telling his companions, if I'm a false prophet, God's going to sever my aorta. My friends, there are thousands of ways to die. Do you really think it's a coincidence that Muhammad died in exactly the way the Quran said he would die if he's a deceiver and a false prophet? Looks like divine judgment to me. Third, I don't want to call Muhammad stupid because that wouldn't be politically correct. But let's think about this for a moment. Muhammad and his followers attack Khaybar. After the Muslims kill a bunch of men and rape a bunch of women, standard practice for Muslims back then, a Jewish woman comes up to Muhammad. Muslims had slaughtered her family, and she offers to cook dinner for Muhammad and his band of merry men. And Muhammad accepts her offer. Sure, I love lamb. So nice of you to cook dinner for us after we butchered your father and your husband. Look, if Muhammad doesn't have enough common sense to realize he probably shouldn't eat that lamb, why should we trust anything that comes out of his mouth? If a woman comes up to you and says, hi, you slaughtered my family, care for a delicious meal? And the only response you can think of is,
yeah, I think so.
sorry, you're not a real prophet. Fourth, despite the fact that Muslims had slaughtered her family, the Jewish woman Zainab was actually open to the possibility that Muhammad was a prophet. She gave him the poison as a test. If he were a true prophet, he wouldn't eat it. If he were a false prophet, he'd die. Since Muhammad died from the poisoning, he failed Zainab's test. Fifth, Muhammad's companion Bishr could taste the poison as soon as he put the lamb in his mouth. Why did he keep eating? He kept eating because he believed in Muhammad. There's no way this lamb is poisoned. Muhammad is eating it. He's the prophet. Bishr's faith in Muhammad got him killed. And I'm willing to lay this down as a rule. If I can't trust you with my dinner, I definitely can't trust you with my salvation. If you can't figure out what's waiting for you in food, how could you possibly know what's waiting for you in the afterlife?
Ignorance is bliss.
Sixth, when Zainab told Muhammad that she had poisoned him, Muhammad said that Allah would never allow it. But Allah did allow it. So if Muhammad was wrong about Allah then, please explain to me why I should trust him when he tells me other things about Allah. Seventh, Muhammad claimed that the lamb he was eating spoke to him and told him that it was poisoned. So he got a special revelation because he was a prophet. Two questions. One, why didn't the roasted lamb say something 5 minutes earlier, which would have saved Muhammad's life, not to mention Bishr's life? And two, why did Muhammad need a revelation when you could taste the poison? Isn't this proof that Muhammad was actually making up revelations? Isn't it obvious that he tasted the poison, same as Bishr, but instead of saying, hey, I taste poison, he said, it's speaking to me, I'm a prophet. Sounds like a fake to me. Eighth, think about the justice here. The justice is just a little too poetic. This can't be a coincidence. Muhammad did more than anyone else in history to provoke hatred against Jews. Muhammad did more than anyone else in history to oppress women. Muhammad told his followers that women are stupid. And then Muhammad died a miserable, humiliating, wretched death after being outwitted by a Jewish woman. So God didn't merely disgrace Muhammad by severing his aorta, thereby identifying him as a false prophet. God added to Muhammad's degradation by severing his aorta through the hands of a Jewish woman seeking vengeance against the man who had brought her community nothing but death and rape.
Fair is fair. We didn't start this, we didn't mean it to happen, but we're not giving up till you pay. Fair is fair!
Ninth, according to the Quran, when the Jews tried to kill Jesus, Allah intervened and rescued him. This is Surah 4, 157 to 158. Allah took Jesus safely to paradise. He wouldn't give anyone the victory over Jesus. But when a group of Jews wanted to kill Muhammad, what happened? Allah sits back and watches as a woman poisons his prophet, and he does nothing as his prophet dies a humiliating death. Why does Allah protect Jesus from harm, zips him straight to paradise? Then when he turns around and sees Muhammad wallowing in freakish misery, Allah doesn't lift a finger to help him. Sounds like Allah was showing a little favoritism. Don't mess with Jesus, Allah won't let you. But go ahead and feed Muhammad some rat poison, Allah doesn't care. Finally, Muhammad's greatest wish was to die in battle. Sahih al-Bukhari 2797. The Prophet said, "By him in whose hands my soul is, I would love to be martyred in Allah's cause and then come back to life and then get martyred and then come back to life again and then get martyred and then come back to life again and then get martyred." If you read the Muslim sources, you know that every time Muhammad wants something, Allah gives him a special revelation, granting him what he desires. Muhammad wants to have sex with Aisha, Allah gives him a revelation. Muhammad wants more than 4 wives, Allah gives him a revelation. Muhammad wants to marry the divorced wife of his own adopted son, Allah gives him a revelation. Allah's got nothing to do but sit around all day making Muhammad's dreams come true.
Well, I've read about genies, but I never thought they really... It's like something out of the Arabian Nights.
Muhammad's ultimate wish was to die in battle. It was his greatest desire. But instead of letting Muhammad die while fighting the Jews, Allah lets him die a disgraceful death in utter agony at the hands of a Jewish woman. Death by leg of lamb. After spending more than 2 decades granting Muhammad anything he wanted, Allah suddenly decides not to give Muhammad what he wanted most. It seems Allah had a change of heart. Putting all of this together, we found at least 10 reasons to reject Islam just by examining Muhammad's death. If we look at how he lived, of course, we have another 1 trillion or so reasons to conclude that he's a false prophet.
And I've learned a lot about Islam, just like I mentioned to you. So, as you were saying about ISIS, if they kill somebody they don't think is a Muslim,
but
they might be wrong.
Yeah, but even if they kill a Sunni who is a fellow Muslim, goes to the mosque. Now, it's kind of like if someone were to build a mosque, probably one of the safest places to build it would probably be America or maybe Europe.
Mm-hmm.
But it wouldn't, a lot of mosques get burned down.
That's right.
In the Middle East
blown up.
and in Muslim parts of Africa, because by Muslims who think that those Muslims aren't,
exactly. They're hypocrites, not real believers.
Strict enough. So it's like they don't have any trouble if Muslims burn down mosques, apparently. In fact, one got destroyed in Pakistan some years ago, and it was a Shiite mosque, and it was blamed on Zionist elements.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, just how many Zionists are in Pakistan? All 2 of them or what? Right. So it's like everything gets blamed off that. And I've gotten a lot of emails from Muslims, and I'll add even some Muslims who have a sense of humor. One Muslim sent me one thing that was kind of hilarious. It was called the Zionist washing machine ate my socks. and what the point was, tongue in cheek, of course, was that everything bad that happens, some Muslims blame on Zionists, no matter what. So it must be Zionists behind his washing machine. So even this Muslim, realized that there's a bunch of junk in the Islam world that is said with that. So if you want to talk about Islam, we'll talk about Islam. But if you want to. I can understand humor too.
Speaking of humor, I thought it was interesting. Once again, I'm getting this information I'm bringing up from Acts 17 Apologetics and also their website, www.answeringmuslims.com.
Mm-hmm.
They document everything from original Islamic sources, particularly these, all of them, all the different kinds. I remember one time when we were doing some videos here on Islam, you had all your hadiths lined up back here on these shelves behind us. We have a playlist on our YouTube channel, CAnswersTV, which stands for Christian Answers Television. It's called Dealing with Islam, Muslims, Sunni, Shiite, Alawite, Sufis. And we have 86 videos currently on that playlist dealing with the subject of Islam. Now, viewers at home, if you look at the first few videos of all these different videos, you can see there Muhammad's 3 goddesses of Allah, Islam's satanic verses, Quran chapter 53, or as known as Surah 53, 19 and 20. Also, 6-year-old wife of Muhammad was okay by the Muslim God Allah, but not by the biblical God of Jesus. It's interesting to note that of these first 2 videos I mentioned, Muhammad's 3 goddesses of Allah, Islam's satanic verses, has over 100,000 views, and the 6-year-old wife of Muhammad was okay by the Muslim God Allah, but not by the biblical God of Jesus, has over 300,000 views. And then, of course, the next video here is basically talking about how people, whether claiming to be Christians or something else, and claiming to believe in Jesus, simply deny the Bible. And that's, of course, what Muslims do. Both fake Christians and pagans deny the Bible and Jesus alike, since Jesus said, Holy Scripture is true. The next video available on that playlist is called Top 10 Reasons Muhammad is a False Prophet by Biblical and Moral Standards, Sam Shamoon and David Wood. Next you see Muslims Fake Gospel of Barnabas to Justify Islam, exposed by John Gilchrist, Morrison, and Wessels. Then we have Satan in Your Nose and Other Muslim Teachings by the Prophet Muhammad. Now, this is an interesting dialogue with actual Muslim exchange students out on a university campus, where you can see a rather dynamic dialogue where the Muslim students really got mad at the Christian evangelists, of which I was one of them, for saying that Jesus is the Son of God. And the rest is very interesting to see in that short video there. And then another video on the playlist, the Qu'ran, Unreliable, Tampered, and Missing Texts of the Muslim Perfect Book, Historical Facts. Like I say, there's over another almost 80 videos available on that playlist dealing with Islam from a Christian biblical perspective. Now, what's interesting here, if you look at the top of our playlist, there's a statement there by YouTube. We didn't put that there, they did. It says, one or more videos have been removed from the playlist because they were deleted from YouTube. Now, that statement there says that they were deleted. And why were they deleted? They were deleted by YouTube because they felt that those videos violated some of their community standards or things of that nature. We were simply, in those two videos, bringing up historical facts from history and Islamic teachings themselves, which nearly got our YouTube channel knocked off of YouTube. But by God's grace, we're still here. But those two particular videos that YouTube deleted are called, and you can see that on your screen here, we moved those videos after they were deleted by YouTube. We moved them over to sermonaudio.com. And one of the videos was called Islam's 1400-Year History of Violent Jihad for Sex Slaves, Money, and Jew Hatred. And that video simply documented from history the very things the title states. Everything was factually true, but for some reason, YouTube deleted that video, which had thousands of views, from being seen by the public. And then this other video that YouTube deleted, Muhammad hated Jews more than Hitler did. Once again, we can see that because, according to YouTube, this video violated their standards. They deleted the video and marked against our channel for this being there. This video, Muhammad hated Jews more than Hitler, had over 200,000 views and was doing very well every day. But unfortunately, YouTube deleted it. Not that we wanted that video to be gone, but they enforced some kind of censorship here, in our opinion, to keep this information from getting out. But that's why you never see any peace in the Middle East, because Muhammad really did hate the Jews more than Hitler did. And the Islamic authoritative sources, the Quran, the Hadiths, the Sirah of Muhammad, prove this beyond a shadow of a doubt. But this is why these videos were deleted, because YouTube apparently changed their policies, because these videos have been up for a long time. And then apparently there was a YouTube policy change that wiped those videos out off of YouTube. But we moved them over to Sermon Audio. And for those of you who are interested, can access these two videos, Islam's 1400-Year History of Violent Jihad for Sex Slaves, Money, and Jew Hatred. And also the other video, Muhammad hated Jews more than Hitler did, are available over there at sermonaudio.com. So feel free to go there to see what was deleted from YouTube. And those videos are out there on our playlist on our YouTube channel, CAnswersTV. If you go there, just scroll down a little bit, you'll find our playlist. Oh, by the way, our video on the three goddess daughters of Allah, that one's almost about to go over 100,000 views. You know, the one with Muhammad's 6-year-old wife is sitting over 344,000 views.
Yeah, he married her when she was 6, but consummated the marriage when she was about 8 or 9.
But now Acts 17 Apologetics has some videos showing that she was still in puberty, or before puberty, puberty before they actually did it, even though she's 9 years old. I've had so many Muslims argue with me. Well, she was in past that pre-puberty state, so it was all right. But Acts 17 Apologetics actually has videos proving from Hadith sources that she was still playing with her dolls, and then they showed.
Right. That's it. Oh, I know that's in Bukhari. Hadith,
Yeah,
maybe in
yeah.
others too.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have different kinds of Muslims. I mean, some Muslims, their answer to that is different. There's some Muslims so.
Right, exactly. A lot of them don't
they
care
think
less.
that's perfectly fine. Yeah.
Right, they don't. It doesn't matter to them, whatever. And then of course, there's all those hadiths that talk about Muhammad wearing Aisha's clothes, and the reason is he got better revelations from Allah. Is why when his other wives were getting mad at him for spending more time with her than them, and he explained that when he wears her clothes, he gets better revelation. That's one excuse if you got a bunch of upset wives that don't like you spending all your time with the one over here.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that Muhammad actually had a bunch of divorces too. So it's like and he asked some women to marry him, and they turned him down.
Right.
So there's a lot there. Now another part of that website, and it is Muslims have a lot of objections to Christianity, whether they don't understand the sometimes they disagree with the Trinity, but sometimes it's they don't understand the Trinity, and other things about the Bible and Christianity. And I basically show them, and what I try to do is try to show them sometimes in kind of a terms they understand. For example, in the Quran it says that Jesus is God's Word. Now it doesn't necessarily say the Word of God or necessarily a Word of God, so it's a little ambiguous there. And it does talk about Messiah, Jesus being the Messiah in the Quran, so it does talk about some stuff.
So that's the beauty of this website, www.muslimhope.com.
MUSLM. Yeah.
Yes, and they're seeing it on the screen here. So they can go there and they can get the kind of information we're discussing kind of nonchalantly, but they'll all be there documented, go into detail on things they need to know about.
Yeah, and kind of the website is laid out to where it's topical. So you find the topic that you have, or you can Google it or whatever. And then I also have apart from sources. So if you just want to say, I want to know what Bukhari says about relevant stuff, then
Bukhari's
I have
one of the
Bukhari, one of the 6 authorized collections, or Sahih Muslim, or Tirmidhi, or something like that. Right. So it's there to look at. And then another section is just answering questions in the Bible. A lot of it which comes from BibleQuery.org. And doesn't necessarily all relate to Islam, because they might just read a verse and say, well, what does this mean? And it may not prove Islam right or wrong or anything, but what does it mean?
Now, the last thing I'd like to say about this, because I can't, I recommend that if you need help dealing with a Muslim friend or relative or somebody, this site will really help you out. Now, there's one other major advantage to this website that Steve has, and that is the foreign translations available. How many languages do you have on that website?
Well, at least parts of it have been a lot translated in Indonesian, Arabic, Urdu. Let's see. I think we have one page and only one page in Malaysian, or Malay, and then some people have either.
You got some in Swahili too, don't you?
We have a lot in Swahili. Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
We don't think about Swahili much in America, but there are over 200 million people speaking Swahili.
Wow, I didn't even know that until just now.
Yeah, and Swahili what was a trade language in East Africa, which is sort of a mixture originally of African languages and Arabic. And of course, Arabic is similar to Hebrew, so sometimes I've heard that if you know Swahili, it kind of gives you an edge up if you try to learn Hebrew. It's kind of interesting. And then I know that other organizations and sites have translated some of my pages into Dutch, into Chinese, into a few others, and that's fine because we're not here to make a profit. And if
we just want to help the people
sharing the Word of God, and you take our stuff and use it. There's also another site. I kind of don't know if I like them or not. They're called faithfreedom.org, and it is not necessarily a religious site, but it is primarily, I guess, a lot of ex-Muslims showing what's wrong with Islam, and they're not really against Christianity, but they're not really for it either. And I was looking through a couple of their pages, and I thought, well, this guy writes like me. No, actually, this is my page. They actually,
So they're copying and pasting.
Took some of my material.
Well, see, that's another beauty of your website, because people that are not as knowledgeable about Islam as you are with this website, they can actually go in there if they need some information. They can copy and paste it and go put it somewhere else.
Right.
And I know that people do that because I've done it.
Yeah,
Quite a few times.
And Christians have emailed me and says, I'm talking to a Muslim. What should I say? Or kind of scary one. Sometimes women email me and say, "Well, I'm thinking of marrying a Muslim. What do I say?"
Oh man,
and
I was able to help someone get out of that last year.
But hopefully sooner than later. But then some of the most interesting questions is I got a couple questions from Muslims. Well, what's the interpretation of these hadiths? And I thought, well, I tell them up front, first thing, I'm a Christian, not a Muslim. Then I tell them what the Bible says, and then finally, as objectively as I can, I tell them what the hadiths say. But I want them to know for sure that this is coming from a Christian.
Cool. One last thing I'd like to say here is people can go to Steve's website here and they can copy and paste stuff that could help them. Let's say you're dealing with an Arabic speaker. Not only does he have stuff in Arabic, but let's say there's a question that Steve has in English, but it's not translated into Arabic. But you can use Google Translate on the internet, and I've done it quite a few times myself. I can simply go and grab something that Steve's written on one of our 3 websites. I can then take it to Google Translate. There's 2 boxes. I put the first in English because that's what I got it off of Steve's website. I have it in English, the answer I need for somebody that speaks a foreign language. And then I put it in Arabic because that's one of the 40 languages.
Yeah.
They make available on good. Now it won't translate it perfectly,
right?
But it's better than nothing.
It's actually amazing the job that Google Translate can do, but you have to take a little bit with a grain of salt.
Right, because it won't be perfect, but it's better than nothing at all.
Yeah.
And so I've used it quite a bit with some of these people from overseas because we do get a lot of feedback from overseas.
Yeah, but the translations are hand translated by people on my side.
All right. Well, we're out of time for this episode. I would like to tell our people we got a free newsletter available. This is one of our latest ones here at the time of this taping. So if you'd like a free one, email Steve at cdebater@aol.com. You can see it there on your screen. Email in your mailing address, and then we can then mail you a hard copy. Otherwise, you can access all our newsletters on one of Steve's other websites, BibleQuery.org. All right, Steve, thanks for being with me for this program.
For having me.
Thank you all for being with us. God bless you all. Remember, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except by me. John 14:6. God bless. If you like our YouTube channel, please subscribe by clicking on the subscribe button and then by also clicking the bell above to get an automatic update whenever we produce another YouTube video for our CAnswersTV channel. Please share our videos with your friends and relatives. May God bless you. Only one life will soon be passed. Only what is done for Christ will last. See related videos by tapping or clicking screens.